Reflection for Sunday, July 26, 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time. John chapter 6, verse 1 to 15. The Gospel. Jesus went across the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd followed him because they saw the signs he was performing on the sick. Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat down with his disciples. The Jewish feast of Passover was near. When Jesus raised his eyes and saw that a large crowd was coming to him, he said to Philip, "Where can we buy enough food for them to eat?" He said this to test him, because he himself knew what he was going to do. Philip answered him, 200 days' wages worth of food would not be enough for each of them to have a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what good are these for so many?" Jesus said, "Have the people recline." Now there was a great deal of grass in that place. So the men reclined, about 5,000 in number. Then Jesus took the loaves and gave thanks, and distributed them to those who were reclining, and also as much of the fish as they wanted. When they had their fill, he said to his disciples, "Gather the fragments left over, so that nothing will be wasted." So they collected them and filled 12 wicker baskets with fragments from the 5 barley loaves, that they had been more than they could eat. When the people saw the sign he had done, they said, "This is truly the prophet, the one who is to come into the world." Since Jesus knew that they were going to come and carry him off to make him king, he withdrew again to the mountain alone. Reflection. There's a story of a married couple who always find it hard to sustain their family's basic financial needs. A relative advised them to always be present in the Holy Mass celebration in their village chapel. The married couple asked the relative, "Why is there a need for us to always be present during Holy Mass?" Their relative told them that they need to be present because this is where they meet, interact, and be one with the bread of life, which is Jesus himself. The big crowd in the Gospel was running after Jesus, primarily because of his miracles, healings, and life-changing sermons. The crowd was more than 5,000, and Jesus was naturally concerned for their welfare. He therefore wanted to feed them, but there was no enough bread and fish. So what Jesus did was he asked for whatever bread and fish that they have. Upon getting hold of the bread and fish, he looked up in thanksgiving to God. Thereafter, Jesus gave the bread and fish to the crowd, and they were able to feed them all. They also had plenty to spare, 12 wicker baskets and some fragments. It was not only the crowd's physical hunger that was satisfied by Jesus. He also satisfied their spiritual thirst. When you attend Holy Mass, you are also fed by Jesus with the same bread which He gave the crowd. It happens when you partake of His body and blood during Holy Communion. During Holy Communion, you are also nourished physically and spiritually by the bread of life, Jesus Himself. This is what occurs when you attend Holy Mass. You are always being nourished by Jesus Himself. The same Jesus that fed the crowd who were following Him in the Gospel. When you are already standing in line for Holy Communion, pray with your mind and heart and humbly ask Jesus to satisfy your spiritual hunger. Ask Jesus to increase your faith. Pray also for contentment and peace in your life. He surely will give in to your prayer. Will you go to Holy Mass this Sunday so that you could partake of the bread of life?